I respect and admire James Carville. Now, he said something on his podcast that has a lot of people upset, and they're letting me know. Here's what was said.
You got to try to raise money from like really wealthy Jewish fundraisers. And it said, look, James, I Democrat, but I can't be a part of party because of what happened at Columbia. Well, what the did the Democrats have to do with what happened at Columbia, by the way? Mm-hmm. And they told me that. They looked me right in the eye. And I said, no, you just want your tax cut. Most Jewish people see right through that. But the ones that don't see through it, they just don't really, at the end of the day, they just want that tax cut.
He's gotten some blowback from fellow Democrats, from some Jews. Jewish Congressman Jake Auchincloss posted today, immediately Democrats must reject anti-Semitic rhetoric and incitement from within the party. A recent example, James Carville just told Jews who've criticized Democrats for anti-Semitism that you just want your effing tax cut. I don't care whose campaign you ran 30 years ago. That's unacceptable. Look, I get why Jake would be upset as a Jewish person, but in my opinion, he's taken it way too far. James Carville is not anti-Semitic. I've known him almost my entire life. But he should explain where he's coming from on this, and he joins me now. Jimmy, good to have you.
Well, thank you. It's good to be on here. With reference to that, let me repeat. Students at Columbia were chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, genocide Joe must go. So the idea that you might have any reason to not want to vote for a Democrat, but the Columbia students is just not a valid reason, I do not believe you, because there's nothing to support that. The other thing I pointed out, that it was a Democratic president that was essential to the formation of the state of Israel, Harry Truman. It was a Democratic president that negotiated the peace deal that one day will come about and bring peace forever to the state of Israel, Bill Clinton and Ehud Barak. It was a Democratic president that forwarded the most revolutionary thing in defense of Israel, the Iron Dome, President Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. So when you say I can't be for a Democrat because of this, and by the way, these people at Columbia, they are not Democrats. These protesters that were saying, hey, hey, Joe must go. So when somebody says, I can't be for Biden, who is probably the most stalwart supporter of the state of Israel is anybody in modern American politics. I don't think there's much dispute about that in terms of President Biden. And it just really talked me off. So that's where we are. But
here's where they're coming from. Here's where they're coming from. It's not the students.
If he wants to read something, may I refer him to an article in the Washington Post on 17 October 2022 by Aaron Blake. After he reads that article, he may feel free to call me. But because these people, frankly, have no idea what they're talking about. But you could not be for Joe Biden for any number of reasons. I wasn't for Joe Biden. You understand it? Chris, I was on your show many times, said I didn't even think he was running for an election. But the idea that Joe Biden was tied to these students at Columbia that were protesting against him is utterly ludicrous. And
I got it. But I'm just saying, just so you know, and you already know this, but just for the context of it, okay? It's not about the students. It's about the administration at Columbia and what they facilitated, what they ignored, and therefore empowered. And Jewish people have more fear, in my personal experience, of anti-Semitism than I've ever seen in my life in this country. And they are pissed. They are pissed at the Democrats. They're pissed at AOC and the squad. They're pissed at how quiet they've been. They've pissed at the artificial balance with Hamas and Israel. But I'm for Israel, but they are scared, and that's where they're coming from when they're upset about this.
All of that is true. And if you look at the incidence of anti-Semitism, that is very true. Joe Biden has nothing to do with this. Joe Biden is an outstanding human being when it comes to his views on religious tolerance and his views on the state of Israel. And I am not going to ever change my mind on that. I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate that. Mr. Auchincloss, please read Aaron Blake's article on 17 October 2022 in the Washington Post. That's what I would say.
Or just pick up the phone, Jake, and call James. He's going to take your call, have a conversation. Be a man.
They can call your book, and they'll give him the number.
Done.
He's not going to do very the conversation. Let me warn you before you call me, Jake.
Well, but look, have it for the right reasons. Anyway, James, let me ask you about a couple other things.
Sure.
The first one is, in terms of a bad look for Democrats, Garcia trying to make this guy some kind of patron saint of the wronged immigrant. Bad optics, wrong guy. Now he's coming back. They're charging him with federal child trafficking or human trafficking charges. Should Democrats just be quiet?
Well, honestly, Chris, I'm in Las Vegas. So I've been betting on horses all day. This is the first I saw when I was watching the lead up to you. But look, if this guy is guilty, I mean, he's coming back. He's going to get a trial. He's going to get due process, and where it goes. And I think the Democrats made a terrible mistake. I think President Biden, who I just defended, made a terrible mistake by listening to the left early on in his administration and having these open borders. So I don't have any problem with that. But I don't know that Mr. Garcia is innocent or guilty. I won't know that until he has due process and a fair trial, and that's the way it ought to be.
Who do you want to be, Musk or Trump, in this current conflict?
So there are two people that understand the gravity of what this is, and they're two very unlike people. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Steve Bannon. Both believe that this needs to be investigated. What information did Musk get? He was in meetings with the Secretary of Defense about Chinese strategy. He has business. We know that. He needs rare earth materials from China. Big balls and snot nose and booger picker, whoever else they had going through all of these agencies, collecting all these files, collecting all this data. We have to have an assessment for the potential damage that's been done to the security of the United States. This assessment is being called on by voices from Senator Warren to Steve Bannon. And I hope that we find out and get to the bottom of what did Mr. Musk find out? What information does he have? What information did they take with him? What does he know about Chinese-American relationships, American security when it comes to this? I'm not saying that this, I'm saying this is worthy of a profound and serious investigation called by two very serious people on utterly opposite sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah, but they're both motivated by hate. Right? Warren hates Trump and Bannon hates Musk.
You can be motivated. You can hate criminals and hate wrongdoers, but the question is a very serious question about national security. We know that he was with the Secretary of Defense when they were talking China strategy and was talking to people, or at least it was talking about the China stuff. We know that these people went into these agencies. We know that they took data out. We know that they took files out. We know that 23-year-olds were terrorizing career federal employees. We know that happened. Look, you can hate something and the person can also be guilty at the same time. The motive is not the important thing. It's the factual set of the operative facts that we face to it right now, and they are very concerning and they need answers. But yes, I'm sure that Musk and Bannon and Senator Warren can't stand. Well, Bannon can't stand Musk. He loves Trump. I think Senator Warren,
that's for sure.
Well, but I don't think she.
That's for sure.
Think she detests both Musk and Trump. If I could be so forward as to speak for somebody else.
I think you're onto something there. James Carville, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on the show and discussing all of these topics.
Back to the dice table. They'll be hot tonight, brother.
Go ahead. Watch the pass line. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.